Call the meeting to order. It's 8:37. I'm going to give the invocation if you don't mind, and then we'll do a roll call. So if you want to, purely voluntary, you can pray with me. Father God, thank you for this day. Thank you for the blessing of what you've given us. Thank you for waking us up. You didn't wake everybody up this morning, but you woke us up with a purpose. So may we be intent on serving you with that purpose. May we be intent about honoring you with what we say and do, Father. But we also may be intent to love each other. Prayer today, especially Mr. Francis and his family, is to guide them, protect them, awaken them to a new season, with intentionality in all that they do. May we pray. Amen. Amen. All right, Tam, will you call roll, please?
Yes, sir. Chairman Rick Figueroa.
Here.
Vice Chairman Tom Butler.
Here.
Dr. Ray Callis. Dr. Gary Weston.
Here.
Commissioner Helen Callier. Commissioner Nora Castaneda.
You're on mute, Nora.
Here. Thank you. You have a quorum.
Okay, we have a quorum. I take a motion to excuse the absence of the commissioners.
So moved. Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. All right, for those here in person, the audience must remain quiet because there's microphones in the ceiling that are very sensitive and can pick up your whisper. If any commissioners are online, just a few quick reminders. Please make sure your camera is turned on the entire time. Mute your microphone when not speaking. Please raise your hand if you would like to be recognized to speak, and say your name before you speak. So we're going to go to public comment, item C on our agenda. Is that right, Pam?
Yes, sir.
All right. You, who's up?
We have a public commenter. Mr. Figgle, could you move Isabella Corrales into the meeting? Ms. Corrales is present.
I'm sorry, Corrales?
Yes, sir.
Ms. Corrales, can you hear me?
Can you hear me?
Yeah, you speak up a little louder, Ms. Corrales.
Yes. Can you
That's
hear
perfect.
me?
Yes, I can. I'm going to read some instructions, and then you're going to have 3 minutes to respond, okay? For your comments, okay?
All right.
Thank you for being here. Please say your name and who you represent. You have 3 minutes. Please understand the commissioners are allowed to ask questions or engage in discussion with you about anything that's not specifically on our agenda. Please also understand the commissioners cannot hear any information about a pending complaint or enforcement case because we may ultimately be the decision maker in that case. The staff will keep time. Do you understand me, Ms. Corrales?
Yes.
Okay, you have 3 minutes. Go ahead and go.
Okay. Well, like I said, my name is Isabel Caleros, and I am a licensed cosmetology instructor. And I work for a company called 70 Wellness, and they're a U.S. manufacturer of microcurrent devices here in the U.S. And I'm here on their behalf today to talk to the Texas State Board about changes in the microcurrent industry. I work as their beauty school liaison, so I'm the one that goes out to the schools and educates on microcurrent and how it's changed. And so basically, there are 2 types of microcurrent. There's the medical microcurrent and what FDA has categorized as the cosmetic microcurrent. And that's the one that I'm talking about today. With the cosmetic microcurrent, what they've done is they've taken the microamps all the way down to 100 microamps so that it's safe for the face, the small muscles of the face and neck. And you don't get that twitching and you don't get that sensation. And it's basically used for the benefits of product absorption, hydration, stimulation, circulation. And we use it in facials and beauty treatments every single day. So 70 has hired me to do lesson plans, audio PowerPoints, and videos, and we send these out to school. And Texas currently does not have this, and that's what I'm here today, is to be able to introduce that training to the Texas State Board. We have some of the bigger schools like Federico's, Catherine Hines, Aveda schools that use our our system. So in conclusion, I'd just like the board to consider allowing the aesthetics or the cosmetic microcurrent to be taught in schools in Texas.
Ms. Gross, thank you so much for your input. We appreciate any insight from people like you. So thank you for your time.
Thank you. I appreciate it. Have a good day.
You have a great day too. It's a pleasure.
Next, we have Kevin Pearson.
Mr. Pearson, can you hear me? You're on mute, sir.
Yes, I can.
Okay, I'm going to read some instructions to you. Make sure you understand them, then we're going to give you 3 minutes, okay?
Thank you.
Thank you for being here. Please say your name and who you represent. You'll have 3 minutes. Please understand the commissioners are not allowed to ask questions or engage in a discussion with you about anything that is not specifically on our agenda. Please also understand that the commissioners cannot hear any information about a pending complaint or enforcement case because we may ultimately be the decision maker. Do you understand, Mr. Pearson?
Yes, I do.
Okay, you have 3 minutes. Go ahead and go, sir.
All right, thank you. Like I just said, my name is Kevin Pearson. I am a resident of Humble, Texas, and I am also the immediate past chair of the Institute of Inspection, Cleaning, and Restoration Certification, IICRC for short. I've been certified through the IICRC since the early 90s, and I hold 2 master's certifications through the organization. The IICRC is the only accredited standards developing organization addressing toxic mold remediation issues in the U.S. The IICRC is also an ANSI accredited standards writing body. ANSI is the American National Standards Institute, and this is a current copy of our S520, the standard for professional mold remediation. We were recently invited to a bipartisan roundtable in Washington, D.C. to address mold issues in military housing, an issue that remains ongoing. We highly encourage the Commission to look at our written comments submitted during the open comment period in October on Agenda Item M regarding mold, especially as it relates to the importance of accreditation. We hope the Commission will consider incorporating accredited standards and certifications into Chapter 78 Mold Assessors and Remediators, as noted in our written comments. Thank you for your time today.
Mr. Pearson, thank you so much for your insight, and we'll be looking at that today. Thank you so much.
Okay, thank you.
Pleasure.
Next, we have Craig Bennett.
Craig. Who?
Bennett.
Mr. Bennett, can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
Okay, I'm going to read some instruction to you, and then we're going to let you have 3 minutes, okay?
Okay.
Thank you for being here today. Please say your name and who you represent. You have 3 minutes. Please understand the commissioners are not allowed to ask any question or engage in discussion which is with you about anything that's not specifically on our agenda. Please also understand the commissioners cannot hear any information about a pending complaint or enforcement case because we may ultimately be a decision maker in that case. Do you understand, Mr. Bennett?
Yes.
Okay, go ahead. You got 3 minutes. Go ahead.
Okay, thank you very much. Good morning, Commissioners, Department staff. My name is Craig Bennett, and I'm here to offer comments on proposed changes to the department's rules related to mold assessors and remediators. Before I turn to my comments, I just want to briefly mention my background. I was an administrative law judge in Texas for almost 19 years. I currently teach Texas administrative law at the University of Texas Law School as well as at Baylor Law School. But I want to be clear, I'm not speaking on behalf of either of those institutions. The Commission is currently considering whether to readopt or revise its rules in Chapter 78. I strongly encourage the Commission to readopt the rules, but with changes that have been proposed by commenters, including myself. The Department's existing rules need to be revised. In particular, they are currently silent regarding the scope of appropriate expertise and qualifications of licensees, as well as the appropriate methods for performing mold investigations. Because of this, some licensees have used their licenses to offer opinions well outside the scope of their expertise, crossing into the realm of other licensed professions. For example, while mold assessors are qualified to identify the existence of mold and environmental conditions leading to mold disease, they are not qualified to give opinions on proper construction or building standards, codes, or guidelines. They're not qualified to give opinions on the effects of mold on a person's health, nor on a work environment, nor are they qualified to address proper heating, ventilation, and air conditioning standards or building code compliance. Each of these areas is within other licensed professions, such as medical doctors, construction professionals, industrial hygienists, and HVAC license holders. Despite clearly being outside the scope of their expertise, some licensees have used their license under Chapter 78 to offer opinions on these matters that are in the realm of other licensed professions. For example, licensees have used their licenses to offer opinions regarding whether a home is safe or habitable for occupants, even though there are no established permissible exposure limits or values for mold exposure, and where no physician or industrial hygienist has given a diagnosis to support such an opinion. In addition, licensees have used their license as justification to offer opinions that a home has construction defects or design defects, or does not meet the applicable standard of care for construction or design, even though the licensee does not have the experience, license, or qualification to evaluate construction or design. Licensees have also exploited the lack of state-adopted standards for mold investigations and sampling methods to perform investigations in ways that produce unreliable and misleading results, causing unnecessary and often overly invasive repair scopes. Accordingly, it is appropriate for the department to amend its rules to address these situations to ensure that licensees are using their licenses solely for activities within the scope of their licensure, based on standardized methodologies and not involving matters requiring the expertise of other professions. Therefore, I encourage you to revise your rules to address these concerns. Thank you for your time.
Mr. Bennett, great insight. Thank you for that. I appreciate that insight. Thank you so much for your time today.
Thank you.
Next, we have Kim Altshuler.
Kim Alter.
Altshuler.
Ms. Altshuler? Can you hear me?
Yes, sir. I'm sorry.
Okay, can you hear me? Can you hear me?
Yes, can you hear me?
Yeah, we got you. Okay, I'm gonna read some instructions to you, and then you'll have 3 minutes, okay?
Thank you. Sorry about that.
Okay, you're good, you're good. Thank you for your being here. Please say your name and who you represent. You'll have 3 minutes. Please understand that the commissioner not allowed you to ask questions or engage in discussion with you about anything that is not specifically on the agenda. Please also understand the commissioner cannot hear any information about a pending complaint or enforcement case because we may ultimately be the decision maker. Do you understand?
Yes, sir.
Okay, you got 3 minutes. Go ahead and go.
Thank you. Good morning, and I appreciate your allowing me the opportunity to provide comments on proposed changes to the mold assessors and remediators rules. My name is Kim Altshuler. I'm a construction lawyer at the law firm Pekar and Abramson in Houston, Texas. I work with several home builders who have received claims concerning mold, and I've also worked with homeowners to help them resolve mold issues at their homes. As a lawyer, I'm always concerned with whether the methodology an expert uses produces reliable results. For example, if you take an air sample in the room you're sitting in right now to see if it has mold, are the results of that test reliable? The best way to achieve reliable results is with a consistent, uniform strategy for mold evaluations. What I found from handling many mold claims is that the current Texas mold assessors rules don't adopt a methodology or standard for mold assessment consultants to use when evaluating a home. The closest regulations come is Rule 78.100, which says that mold sampling must be performed according to, quote, nationally accepted methods. But the term nationally accepted methods has been interpreted so many ways that it essentially allows the mold assessment consultant to perform sampling any way they want. Some mold assessment consultants will tell you that nationally accepted methods means you first evaluate the home with a visual inspection and prepare a sampling strategy, which is where you want to sample, how you want to sample, and why you want to take a sample in a particular location. And then second, if you're going to take samples, you follow a standard of care that includes things like calculating the volume of air, putting the equipment in a certain location, and other things specified by the equipment manufacturer. But some mold assessment consultants interpret their requirement to use nationally accepted methods to only refer to the type of sample collected, like an air sample or a tape lift sample. Other than that, they believe they can take the sample however they want, even in a way that no other mold assessment consultant takes it, or in a way that produces unreliable results. And this is important because if you don't use a scientifically sound sampling strategy and don't take your samples properly, a $2,000 mold repair can turn into a $200,000 mold repair based on unreliable data. And I've seen that happen time and time again. So I encourage the commission to adopt a standard and methodology for mold sampling that is scientifically credible, consistent, and reliable, rather than allowing each mold assessment consultant to use whatever methodology, sampling strategy they choose, whether it's based in science or not. I appreciate your time today. I'm happy to answer any questions you might have.
Thank you so much for your time. Great insight, and we talked about that today. Have a great day.
Thank you.
Emma?
Next we have Megan Hensley.
Ms. Hensley, can you hear me? We lost.
President of the room, we have.
Oh, there she is. Hang on, we got her. Ms. Hensley, can you hear me?
I can. Can you hear me?
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. I'm gonna read you some instructions and then you'll have 3 minutes, okay?
Okay, great. Thank you.
Thank you for being here today. Please say your name and who you represent. You have 3 minutes. Please understand the commission are not allowed to ask questions or engage in discussions with you about anything that is not specifically on our agenda. Also, please understand the commissioners cannot hear any information about any complaint or enforcement case because we may ultimately be the decision maker. Do you understand, Ms. Hensley?
Yes, I do.
Excellent. You have 3 minutes. You go ahead and go.
Good morning, Chairman Figueroa and members of the commission. My name is Megan Hensley, and I'm representing the National Elevator Industry Incorporated, or NEI, today. NEI is the trade association whose members are leading manufacturers of elevators and other building transportation equipment. They collectively represent 85% of the industry's work hours in the U.S. On behalf of our members, NEI strongly urges the Texas Commission of Licensing and Regulation to finalize the appointment of an elevator equipment manufacturer to fill the current vacancy on the Texas Elevator Advisory Board. NEI supports the appointment of either Brent Whitmire or Brian Mitchell, both of TK Elevator, who have submitted applications already. Either of these individuals would be a strong addition to the board. The Elevator Advisory Board plays a vital role in the state's program to regulate building transportation equipment, and vacancies should be filled at the earliest date. The elevator manufacturer seat was vacated when Nancy Crumley of TK Elevator retired from the board nearly 2 months ago. The industry is eager to have a representative and contribute to the board's efforts. Thank you for the opportunity to provide these comments today. Our association stands ready to assist the commission in finalizing the appointment of an elevator board manufacturer to fill the current vacancy on the Texas Elevator Advisory Board. Thank you.
Ms. Hensley, thank you so much. As the chairman, I specifically pay attention to these advisory boards. So thank you for your time on this. Appreciate your input. We'll
You're
follow up
welcome.
with
Thank you. I appreciate it.
you. Okay? Ms. Fletcher?
We'll take a public commenter in the room, Mr. Mike Marshall.
Okay, Mr. Marshall, I think you've heard my instructions several times.
Yes, sir.
Okay, good. I don't have to repeat them. I know, I love the sound
I
of my voice.
was thinking, I was wondering if you're gonna.
Okay, but Mr. Marshall, you know, I'm going to go ahead and give you 3 minutes. You go ahead and go.
Thank you. Good morning, commissioners and staff. My name is Mike Marshall, and I am the exiting president of the Texas Mold Assessors and Remediators Association, also referred to by the acronym TAMARA. We are a lobbying 501c3 association representing thousands of licensees to help protect the millions of Texas consumers excuse me, from mold damage across the state. I'd like to start by congratulating Mr. Francis on his well-deserved retirement. We wish you nothing but the best, sir. I'm one of the founding members of TAMARA, which was created during the 86th legislative session when our industry faced full deregulation. Over the past 3 years since our formation, we have worked closely with legislators and members of TDLR to provide information on industry best practices, common sense regulatory change, and enforcement initiatives that deter some of our less ethical industry peers. I'm here today to bring public attention to some of the issues we faced during this time and to extend a hand once again from the industry to help you, TDLR, protect the consumers of our great state. We are a nation and a state of laws. When those laws are broken and there are not appropriate consequences for those actions, those laws lose their effectiveness. In the year following TDLR's emergency response to the Governor disaster declaration following Hurricane Harvey, TAMARA tried with great effort to get members of TDLR to adopt changes to that response before our next major hurricane was upon us. Unfortunately, it wasn't the hurricane that got us. It was the deadly winter storm in 2020. In the days following the onset of that storm, TAMARA created a change document that was reviewed by TDLR. Members from your mold program and your government liaison office thanked us for helping them with these changes and told me after nearly a 90-minute phone call reviewing each change that I would hear back from him before any changes took place and that they are not yet planning to implement an emergency response for our industry, which essentially waives most of the key regulations. I woke up at 5 a.m. the next morning to find that overnight the emergency response from TDLR was put in place for the mold industry. The damage that is done every time this office makes that decision for our industry can be saved for another meeting. But myself, our association, and our industry lost trust in TDLR that day. We were lied to, but we're still here in hopes to rebuild that trust and continue down the path we're both walking, protecting the consumers in the great state of Texas. The other problem that we have is the lack of enforcement of our own published regulations. It invites less than ethical licensees to do things however they would like without fear of consequence. I know several complaints that have been filed with this office through our office that appear to have been falling on deaf ears or no ears at all. As you have all read, part of TDLR's mission statement is to protect the health and safety of Texans. It also mentions that one of your highest ranked core values is to be accountable to Texans. Texas Mold Assessors and Remediators Association takes those statements very seriously. We're not going away, and we're going to be here to ensure this office is held accountable to both those statements. I would also like to say that I agree immensely with my counterparts. I don't know them, but all of the things that they said were on point and in line with what we would like to see change as well. Thank you very much.
Your comments don't go on deaf ears. We have to, we're going to look at this and we appreciate it. And we will make sure, I'll personally make sure that somebody follows up with you, especially if you have concerns that in this industry.
I appreciate that. Thank you.
We'll make sure that happens.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Thank you for your time. Jan?
I believe Mr. Larry Sternstedt was trying to reconnect to the meeting. Do we have him?
Mr. Sternstedt? Hey, you're on mute, sir.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah, can you speak up just a little bit, please, Mr. Sternstedt?
Yes, yes. Can you hear me now?
I got you. I'm gonna read some instructions to you, and then I'm gonna give you 3 minutes, okay?
Yes, sir.
Okay, hang on a second. Thank you for being here. Please say your name and who you represent. You have 3 minutes. Please understand the commissioner is not allowed to ask questions or engage in discussion with you about anything that's not specific on their agenda. Please also understand the commissioners cannot hear any information about any complaint or enforcement case because we may ultimately be the decision maker on the case. Do you understand, Mr. Sternstedt?
Yes, sir.
Okay, you've got 3 minutes. Go ahead and go.
Good morning, commissioners and chairman. My name is Larry Sternstedt. I'm in my 47th year of owning a towing and storage, vehicle storage facility company. And I'm here today to honor Brian Francis for his service, not only as the TDLR executive director, but even before. Even though we might not have agreed on everything, I know that everybody ever does. Brian has done a great job. I wish him well in his retirement and appreciate everything he's done. I want to thank y'all for his time.
Mr. Sternstedt, I'm gonna break a little protocol and allow Mr. Francis to respond for a second. Francis.
Mr. Chairman, Brian Francis, Executive Director with TDLR. Larry, I was nervous. I was ducking over here, man. I told my wife, I said, I don't know what he's about to say, baby. Larry, I really appreciate it. We didn't agree on everything, but man, we kept our lines of communication open. And I think that's the key to having a true relationship. And man, you worked me. I think I've typed over 10,000 words to you and spoke to you for about 30 hours, but I appreciate you just taking the time out to honor me today. That means a lot. Thank you so much. Appreciate it.
Mr.
Well,
Cersek, go ahead.
Yes, O'Brien, if you're ever in the Houston area, and especially Deer Park or Pasadena, and you need a tow truck, I have one for you.
All right, man.
Mr. Cersek, the wise man once said, Brian's got to be good at what he does because he hadn't made his money on his looks. So we know that's the case. Thank you, Mr. Cersek, for your time.
Hey, thank y'all.
All right. I was just saying, I got little bullets here all day long. Okay, I want to get to the rules, but I want to make sure we're going to skip the recognition, Cam, and we're going to jump in the executive session. Mr. Bowman, we're going to skip that. Is that accurate or not?
Yes, sir. I think that's not needed today unless commissioners have questions.
Commissioners, do you have any questions that you'd like to step in executive session about? Okay, excellent. So I need a motion, commissioners, on item G. Electronic signatures.
I make a move that electronic signatures are accepted for the purposes of this meeting. Second.
All right, got it. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Excellent, okay. We're gonna jump to item H. Where are my glasses? Ms. Escobar, are you here?
Mike, we're ready for the attorneys to come to the meeting.
Ms. Escobar, can you hear me? You're on mute. Or you gonna bring them all? Is that illegal to bring all those attorneys in one place? I'm nervous now. Jessica, can you hear me? Jessica?
Yes, I'm here.
Yeah, she's on mute. Can you? No, I'm sorry, Todd. I'm sorry. Escobar. Sorry, wrong Jessica. Apologize.
Sorry.
No, you're good. You're good. No, I'm glad you can hear me too. But Jessica Escobar, can you hear me?
I can hear you. Can you hear me?
Yes, ma'am. We can hear you. Okay.
Right.
You were on item H, and you are up, Ms. Escobar.
Fantastic. Chairman and commissioners, I can hear you. I shouldn't be on mute. Can you hear me?
I can hear you. Can you hear us?
Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Yes. We're good now?
Yes.
Okay. Okay, great. Chairman and commissioners, good morning. During the 87th session, legislation was passed to establish the Financial Crimes Intelligence Center within the department. And so this was a win not only for Texans, as it is it's targeted at combating card fraud, but it's also targeted to help stop skimmers and that plague consumers at the gas pump. It's a huge win for TDLR because this center is established within our agency. This center is the first of its kind, not only within Texas, it's the first of its kind within in the country. So TDLR was given the direction under statute to contract for the operations and to hire a chief intelligence coordinator for the oversight of the FCIC. Just giving you a little bit of background. Within months after the passage of this bill, TDLR entered into a contract with Smith County and the Smith County District Attorney. On October 1st, the FCIC was opened. So while TDLR was awarded an appropriation for the operation of the center, so we had some funding, the legislation was also written so that we could accept gifts, grants, and donations, which is what brings us here today. The Northeast Texas Regional Mobility Authority has made a donation of 3 Veridesks to the FCIC for use by its staff in Tyler. The government code requires that a state agency, which is governed by a board, must accept that gift in an open meeting. And so chairman and members, I'm here today asking that you acknowledge and accept this gift in our open meeting from the Net RMA to TDLR on behalf of the FCIC.
Okay, well, let's go smart. I'm gonna make some comments, but I need a motion on that, commissioners.
I'll make the motion to accept that.
Second? Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Okay, motion passed. Ms. Escobar, thank you. Tremendous amount of effort went into that. I apologize for not being able to make it, but I heard it was a fantastic opening and it was just an amazing center. I know Commissioner Butler went in my proxy and everybody thought there was a senior citizen opening center, but we had to correct that political PR relational thing, but we got it corrected. And so, anyway, Mr. Butler, Commissioner Butler, I jest, but thank you for stepping in. And would you like to make a couple of comments since you were there?
Thank you so much, Commissioner. Chairman Figueroa, I really would. I'd like to start off by thanking Jessica. I wish I could explain to y'all the amount of work that went into something like this. You could only imagine by being there and seeing what actually happened. I can't overstate her input in making this thing happen from the very beginning to completion. And Texas is now leading the way. And to borrow a line from Commissioner Francis, we now have an organized way of fighting organized crime in the state of Texas. Because at the root of these skimmer and credit card fraud cases is organized crime of some kind. And so, Jessica, I want to say thank you so much for your efforts and the idea, the vision behind this thing. You've done a tremendous job for your state. And those are my only comments, Mr. Chair. Thank you so much.
All right, again, outstanding job. And Commissioner Butler, Tyler called and asked, there's a nursing home being opened. They'd like for you to come back and go and cut the ribbon on that if you don't mind. We're going to go back to public comment. Tam, go ahead.
Apologies. We have Sherry Lanahan, who's in the lobby. Can you move her in?
Sherry.
Lanahan.
Hello.
Sherry, can you hear me? Ms. Lanahan?
I can, not very well, but I can hear you.
Well, I can't hear well either, Ms. Lanahan, but we're gonna get through this. I'm gonna read you some instructions and then I'm gonna give you 3 minutes, okay?
Okay, thank you.
You bet. Let me go back to my instructions. Thank you for being here. Please say your name and who you represent. You will have 3 minutes. Please understand the commissioners are not allowed to ask questions or engage in discussion with you about anything that is not specifically on your agenda. Please also understand the commissioners cannot hear any information about a pending complaint or enforcement case because we may ultimately be the decision makers on the case. Do you understand?
Yes, sir.
Okay, you've got 3 minutes. Go ahead and go.
Okay, sir. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen, for allowing me to make a public comment. And good morning. I'm starting a new driver's education school in Lufkin, Texas. I do have a competing school in the area. However, the demand is will accommodate both of schools. My concern is that the competing school, driver's ed school, has contracts in 10 or 12 local and surrounding school districts, with only 3 of those districts holding active classroom. Rather than cross an ethical line of mine and approach these contracted, unattended districts, I looked for other options and venues. I have several churches who are intrigued about having classroom at their church to help the community. Yet to have a classroom there, I must make each church a branch, which would cost $500 per branch for the licensing. The competing school pays nothing for those locations she's contracted with, and many of them are being unused. I do understand that TDLR should not make any rules so difficult that it impedes a small business to progress. I understand that classroom can't be held in any place that might be harmful to a student. For instance, an eating establishment that might serve alcohol. So my question is, what better place to offer driver's education classroom to teens and adults than a church? So my request today is that the commission consider allowing churches to do site location contracts. Otherwise, again, I would have to cross that ethical line I do not wish to cross to attempt to get contracts at schools that are not being served by my competing driver's ed school. The need for classroom is here, but it's not being served in my surrounding communities. So without options on site location contracts for me, my business will basically be dead in the water. So that's my statement for today, and I thank you so very much for your time and your thoughtful consideration. Thank you.
You're absolutely welcome. Thank you for your comments. We appreciate it. Have a great day.
Thank you, sir. You too.
Okay, good, welcome, Commissioner Tiger, good to see you. Why don't you go ahead and note that she's joined the meeting, if you don't mind, Tam. And then we are on item I, the minutes. Commissioners, you have the minutes in front of you. Everything okay?
Yeah,
Okay.
all good.
Good to hear.
That's some concrete. Go
All
ahead.
right. I need a motion on the minutes.
So moved, make a motion to move to accept the minutes.
All right, second?
I'll second that motion.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Motion passes. All right, we're gonna go to contested cases. Okay, so let me go ahead. I think we only have one, correct? Cam?
Yes, sir.
Okay. If anyone has indicated that they're appearing today for a case or staff has provided them information on how to connect to this meeting, they'll bring them into the meeting when they announce the case. I'm gonna go ahead and get the respondent on the case. Who do we have on? Is a lawyer just responded or?
Jacob Green, the respondent is here, and Jessica Hurtado, our.
Okay. Okay. Mr. Green, can you hear me? Mr. Green, you're on mute.
Yes, sir.
Okay, all right. I'm gonna read you some instructions and then we're gonna go from there, okay?
Okay.
All right. We'll hear from the prosecutor first, then you. You have an opportunity to speak. Make sure you speak clearly and say your name and who you represent. Each side will have 5 minutes to speak and up to 3 minutes for rebuttal if needed. Ms. Fletcher will keep time. Please understand the commission can only consider information that is in the record from the case that was heard at the SOA hearing. So you must limit your comments to these matters that were presented at the SOA hearing. Do you understand, Mr. Green?
Yes, sir.
Perfect. Okay. Ms. Hurtado, you have the floor.
Thank you. Good morning, commissioners and chairman. My name is Jessica Hurtado, and I am a prosecutor in the Enforcement Division. The ALJ recommends that you deny Jacob Green's application for an incident management tow operator license. In 2016, the applicant began communicating online with an undercover officer posing as a 13-year-old girl. The applicant contacted the officer and stated that he was, quote, trying to find a sweet girl. After the officer told the applicant that she was almost 14 years old, the applicant continued to communicate with her for several days through text messages. The applicant told the officer that they could, quote, mess around and that he would get her pregnant. The applicant asked the officer if they could meet in person, and the officer agreed. When the officer reiterated that she was 13 years old, the applicant replied, "That's fine, we really can't get caught." The applicant agreed to meet the undercover officer at a public park, and when the applicant arrived at the location, he was arrested by officers. As a result, in July 2017, the applicant pled guilty to online solicitation of a minor, a felony offense. The court placed him on deferred adjudication community supervision for a period of 5 years, and Mr. Green will remain on supervision until July 2022. At the hearing, Mr. Green testified that he currently operates a roadside assistance business, activities which are not regulated by the department, and that he may come into contact with minors during the course of that work. He also testified that if he does not get a license, he will go back to operating his tow truck without a license. He testified that he will continue to get insurance customer calls and will return to towing without being monitored by the department. The applicant testified that he completed his sex offender treatment and that he regularly takes drug tests and polygraph examinations. However, we only have his word that he has made these sex offender treatment rehabilitation efforts because he submitted no evidence to support that statement. Regarding the incident, Mr. Green testified at the hearing that the profile of the person he was communicating with stated they were 19 years old and that he was attempting to leave the park without ever exiting the vehicle when he was arrested. The ALJ, after considering the factors in sections 53.022 and 53023, determined that the applicant's deferred adjudication could be considered as a conviction for licensing purposes. Crimes involving prohibited sexual conduct or that involve children as victims are guideline crimes for tow truck operators. In Texas, an individual can receive a learner's permit at 15 years old. Tow truck drivers often assist stranded motorists alone in isolated locations, and a person with a predisposition for crimes involving prohibited sexual conduct would have the opportunity to engage in further similar conduct. Additionally, incident management tow operators are often called to the scenes of accidents or other incidents where vehicle owners may not have a choice in which tow operator is assisting them. The ALJ found that while the applicant only has one criminal offense, it is a serious crime, a felony, that he committed when he was 24 years old. And that the applicant will remain on supervision for at least another 6 months. While the ALJ found that the applicant has made progress in completing his rehabilitation and remaining in compliance with his supervision, the ALJ was concerned that Mr. Green's testimony at the hearing attempted to downplay the serious nature of his crime and was inconsistent with the evidence. The ALJ also notes that the applicant's discussion of his rehabilitation involved his being monitored, using cameras, and avoiding school zones. The ALJ is concerned that some of these monitoring conditions will end when the applicant completes his supervision. The ALJ believes that the applicant may be able to better establish his fitness for licensure after showing a pattern of good conduct after his community supervision has ended. The ALJ concludes that Mr. Green is not fit to be licensed at this time and recommends that you deny his incident management tow operator license application. I ask that you adopt the PFD as written, and I'm available to answer your questions. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Tyler. Any questions, commissioners? Okay, Mr. Green, can you hear me? You're on mute.
Yep. Yes, sir.
Okay, you got 5 minutes. Go ahead and go.
As far as what she was saying on downplaying, I've never downplayed. I've never lied about my conviction or any of that. With her saying my cameras and stuff are for the probation and all that, no. I was never required or asked to put cameras in my vehicles or any of that. That is all me to.
Okay, anything else, Mr. Green?
No, sir.
Okay, commissioners, do you have questions for Mr. Green? Mr. Green, I have a quick question for you. You alluded to the fact that you were going to continue to service vehicles. I think Mr. Cotta said that was in the SOA hearing. What do you mean by that?
I'm going to continue to run my company as far as what I can do by state law. State law does not require me to have DOT numbers to be a roadside company. I can still operate my company and put a TDOR licensed tow truck operator in one of my trucks.
Okay, want to get clarification. All right. Commissioners, any other comments?
Yeah, no other comments on my side.
All right, I'll entertain a motion.
I make a motion that we adopt the department's recommendation and deny Mr. Green his license.
Commissioner Gallagher, second.
Second. There's a motion, a second. Any further discussion? All right, all those in favor say aye. Opposed?
Aye.
Okay, Mr. Green, the staff will get with you if he passes. If you have any questions, there's some follow-up. This isn't exactly the end of the journey, but we'll have one of the staffs get with you. Okay, Mr. Green?
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Okay, do we need a break, Commissioner? You good?
No, I'm good.
You good? Commissioners, how y'all doing? Everybody good? Excellent, all right. Well, then with that, we're gonna go to the rules. Soreto, Delama, I apologize. English is a second language for me.
Dalma Satora.
Satora.
It's Dalma Sotero.
Okay, Dalma, thank you. All right, I'm going to, you're up, we're on item K.
Yes, good morning. My name is Dalma Sotero, Assistant General Counsel for the department. It's a pleasure for me to be here. I'm going to be presenting agenda item K, discussion and possible action on the proposed amendments to Chapter 62, Sections 20 and 80 regarding the Code Enforcement Officers Program. The proposed rule the proposed amendments to Section 62.20C provide a 2-year registration term to the Code Enforcement Officer in training who upgrades the registration to a Code Enforcement Officer instead of the remaining of the initial registration term. The proposed rules also amends Section 62.80 to combine the renewal process and the corresponding fee with the upgrade process and fee. And finally, the proposed rules amend Section 62.20C to continue implementing the plain talk guidelines. These proposed rules were published in the Texas Register on September 24, 2021 for public comment. The 30-day public comment period closed on October 25th. During that period, the department received 3 public comments, and one of the comments was in favor of the proposed rules. The other 2 were out of the scope of this amendment. The department did not make any changes based on the public comments that we received. The Code Enforcement Officers Advisory Committee met on December 8, 2021 to discuss the proposed rules and the public comments received. The Advisory Committee recommended the adoption by the Commission of the proposed rules as published in the Texas Register. So now the department recommends the Commission to adopt the proposed rules as published in the Texas Register with an effective date of March the 1st, 2022.
Any question, Ms. Sotero?
Any questions?
Questions?
Okay, I'll take a motion.
So moved, Commissioner Collier, for adopting the rules that were just read with the effective date. Give me an effective date again.
March the 1st.
Thank you. Yep, March the 1st, 2022.
Your second?
Second.
Okay, all in favor, say aye.
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 Opposed? All right, motion carries. Thank you.
Thank you.
Right. Mr. Jennings.
Yes, sir. Thank you, Chairman Figueroa. Thank you, Commissioners. For this agenda item.
Mr. Jennings, hang on a second. I can't hear you very well. Commissioners, can you hear him? I don't think either one of us can.
Right.
So Mike, can we turn it up, or Mr. Jennings, can you speak a little closer and a little louder if you don't mind, please?
How about this? Is this better, Commissioner?
That's better. Yes,
Chairman?
go ahead.
All right,
Yes.
thank you. Again, my name is Doug Jennings, Assistant General Counsel for the department. What we're looking at for this agenda item are some amendments to Chapter 61 of TDLR's rules. Those deal with the combative sports program. As you're aware, House Bill 1560 from the last legislative session was TDLR's sunset bill and made a number of changes to many programs at the agency. This is really straightforward as it applies to combative sports. HB 1560 simply removed the licensure requirements for combative sports seconds, matchmakers, and event coordinators. So these proposed rules simply implement those changes. They also are some stylistic changes to remove some gender-specific language. These proposed rules were published in the Texas Register on October 8th of last year. We received 0 comments from the public during that 30-day comment period. The Combative Sports Advisory Board met December 15th to discuss the proposed rules and voted unanimously to send them on to the commission without change. So what we're asking you to do today is to adopt the proposed rules under Chapter 60, Texas Administrative Code Chapter 61, as published with an effective date of March 1st of this year. I'm happy to answer any questions.
Thank you, Mr. Jennings. Any questions?
So, I mean, so this is Commissioner Collier, I mean, for this, I mean, I know this is this particular group is a close group, close-knit group, and so you're saying that there were absolutely no public comments? I mean, any sentiments from the group, anything with the removal of the requirements?
Commissioner Collier, I believe there were no comments. That's true. I think I expected to see some comments also, and I think program staff did too. But I think one of the reasons we didn't, honestly, is that we were just very straightforward in communicating to the public what was coming. I think we had a good outreach about our sunset bill and explained that to I think we did a good job of explaining that, particularly to our advisory board. One of the things I think that alleviated or removed some of the concerns, particularly about removing the licensure requirement for combative sports seconds, is that this proposed rule, if there is a violation of the rules by a second who no longer holds a license, that conduct is now imputed or attributed to the contestant. So someone is still, if you will, on the hook for bad behavior during an event by a second. And so I think that addressed some of the industry's concerns.
Okay, all right, yeah, I appreciate that.
Commissioner Collier, this is Brian Francis. I'll just reiterate what Doug said. People knew about this change in June of 2020. It wasn't a surprise when that report came out for our sunset bill. It was in there, and so I think all the gnashing of teeth took place in those early months. But as it progressed through the sunset process, I think people understood it and were already making changes to how they would respond to this moment. So I don't think it's a surprise for those that were in the know.
Okay, yeah, I appreciate that. I definitely remember going through, for sunset legislation, so appreciate the clarification. Thanks, Mr. Jennings.
Okay, any other questions?
No other questions? Commissioner Collier moves to adopt this ruling effective March 1st, 2022.
Thank you, Commissioner Carter. Second?
Second.
All right, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? All right. Motion carries.
Thank you, commissioners.
Thanks.
Thank you, Doug. Appreciate it. Item M, ironically for the mold. So, Wendy, can you hear me?
I can hear you. Good
Excellent.
morning. Good
All right,
morning.
Wendy, you got the floor.
Great, thank you. Good morning, Commissioners. Wendy Pello, Senior Assistant General Counsel. This is agenda item M, and this agenda item is different from the other rule agenda items on your agenda today. This is agenda item M is about rule reviews, and there are currently
Hey,
7.
Wendy, can you speak up because I can barely hear you, or get closer to the mic if you don't mind. Or Mike, turn her volume up if you don't mind.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah, just a little.
Is that a little bit better?
A little bit better. Yeah, go ahead.
Okay. Yeah, this is 7. We're doing 7 rule reviews today, and this is the required review that's done every 4 years. And the 7 chapters that are undergoing review on the agenda today are the rules under 16 Texas Administrative Code, Chapter 62, 78, 90, 92, 95, 118, and 119. And before I get into specifics about these 7 chapters, just to give you a little background on the rule review process, the Administrative Procedure Act, the APA, requires state agencies to review their rules every 4 years and to determine whether the reasons for initially adopting or readopting those rules continue to exist, and whether the rules should be readopted, amended, or repealed. The department publishes a notice of intent to review in the Texas Register, notifying the public that we're going through this rule review, but there are no proposed changes. There's no text proposed or published at that time. It's just a notice saying that we're undergoing the review. And during the review, the department assesses whether the reasons for adopting or readopting the rules continue to exist. The department reviews each rule to determine whether it's obsolete, whether the reasons or whether it reflects current legal and policy considerations, and whether the rule reflects current department procedures. And so if the department receives public comments that are suggesting amendments to the rules, or in response to that notice of intent, or the department determines that the rules are still necessary but amendments need to be made, the department will propose amendments in a future rulemaking. And any proposed changes will be published in the Texas Register and will be open for public comment and review prior to final adoption by the Commission. So at this point in this process, the department is not recommending adoption of any changes at the point because we haven't proposed anything specific for the public to review and comment on. Again, we're just reviewing rules as part of a rule review. For the 7 rule chapters that are under consideration today, the department published a combined notice of intent to review in the Texas Register on September 3rd, 2021, and the public comment period closed on October 4th, 2021. The department received public comments from 65 interested parties in response to that notice of intent to review for those 7 rule chapters. And the Commission has copies of the public comments received and summaries of each of those comments. So I won't go into all of that unless you have questions. But again, any public comments regarding readoption of the rules or repeal the rules, we took that under consideration for today's review. But any public comments suggesting changes to the rules, we've taken under consideration for a possible future rulemaking. Again, any amendments to the rules would be go through the standard rulemaking process, which allows the public to see the specific changes, proposed changes, and make comments at that point. Again, the department reviewed each of the rule chapters that are on the agenda today and determined that the reasons for adopting and readopting those rules continue to exist. Those rules are still essential in implementing those programs and the provisions for each of the affected programs. And the rules provide details that are not found in the statutes, but are necessary for implementation and operation of those programs. And just as an FYI, this group of rule reviews that is before you today is the first group that's gone through with a revised process, which the legal and the in-depth review, the legal review and the in-depth review with the division staff has been conducted concurrently. We have eliminated that former 2-step process, so that's been eliminated. And this change is part of a larger group of changes that's being done to the rule review process to revise and update it and improve it. Previous changes you've seen where we've got consolidated rule reviews where you have multiple chapters being reviewed at the same time like we have today. We've done that for the last several groups. And then future changes will also include implementing recommendations from Sunset about the use of data in rule reviews. So you'll see that in a future group of rule reviews as well. So that's kind of where we are on the rule review process of reviews and updating that process. But again, for today, recommending the 7 rule chapters, the department's recommending that the Commission readopt the 7 rule chapters listed under agenda item M. Again, that's 62, 78, 90, 92, 95, 118, and 119, and adopt those in their entirety and in their current form with a recommended effective date of February 15th, 2022. I'm happy to answer any questions.
Any questions, Commissioners?
Wendy, this is Commissioner Collier. Can you repeat the statement that you made about one of the last statements you made about something that goes to the sunset the next go around? It wasn't clear for me.
Right. One of the recommendations, sunset management action item had as part of the sunset bill, but they also had management action items that were separate from the bill. And one of the things they were asking the department to do was incorporate the use of data in various functions. One of those is in rule reviews. And so we have been looking at that. We had pilot projects that we used for several rule reviews, kind of collecting data, see how that worked, trying to develop processes. And so we've put that those processes in place with the forms. And so we'll be rolling that out for the next group of rule reviews. So that'll be implementing that management action item. But this is the step today about the eliminating the 2-step process is part of a larger project to implement rule review, process improvements, which also includes recommendations from Sunset. But you'll see those changes in future rules.
And Commissioner County, this is Brian Prince. If I can add to that, if you recall, Sunset is really asking us to have a more robust rule review component. And one of the things that's really interesting, but also very, very complicated, is that they've asked us to take a look at our rules based on maybe our complaint history. If we didn't have a complaint on this particular standard of care, why do we still have a rule in regard to it? And so the team is doing an incredible job, led by Christina Kaiser, in overseeing this, but doing a great job of really putting together a system approach. And we're doing like we've done everything else. We're ooching in and we're testing how this new thing's going to work. But it's going to help us in regard to the comments that you've heard earlier today, or that took place earlier before you arrived, from the mold contingent, which showed up and showed out. It's really going to allow us to really factor in those type of concerns into future rule offerings. So the team's doing a really good job, and it's going to be a nice little project to continue to monitor. I think it'll be a model for other agencies going forward.
Yeah, I appreciate, Brian, the clarification. I do recall, for the collection of the data and so forth. It just wasn't clear to me.
No, it wasn't clear. It's good.
When she was rattling it off. So I'm really looking forward to that aspect, because I think it'll put it on, I don't know if I want to use the word fire, but I think it'll really, make it dynamic. So I'm looking forward to that effort when it comes through. So, thank you, Wendy.
You're welcome.
Any other comments?
Mr. Chairman, I have a procedural question. Is it possible to ask questions or no? Okay, no worries. Thank you.
Commissioner, Brian, I guess either Wendy or Brian, I'm not sure who. There's a lot of, especially with the mold contingent coming out, there's a lot of issues that came out, and they rattled off several, right? We need to address these. Is there, and I know it's going to be an inching in, or what you said, ooching, yes, ooching into this thing, which I get, which we want to be diligent. Is there a way that we can get a summary of the concerns that were brought on? I'm reading through these things. There are numerous ones. A summary of these concerns to make sure that we can check them off as we begin to modify these rules.
I think that's very appropriate to be able to do that. And, the staff's going to look at some and they're going to be like, this is spot on. And there'll be others that they'll say, the statute doesn't give us the authority to reach there. And they'll give you that sort of analysis as they go through it. But just like any rule comments that we receive, we have to come up with a response to those. And so I think it'll be appropriate for Brad's team to work on a summary for y'all, to give you an outline of where we are in the process.
You want to get that done before you leave? Oh, thank you. She said you're good, so we're good.
Mr. Chairman, if I may, Brad Bowman, Laura Pepperly is the attorney that works with the mold program, and that was the program where we got so many comments, so much response for this rule review. So I think she can work with the program staff for mold to put something together that kind of summarizes all of that. And there, like Brian said, there may be things we can address in rulemaking. That will be a next step in this process, to look at any changes that may need to be made. We can't make, as Wendy was saying, we can't make changes to the rules right now because we haven't proposed any changes for the public to comment on. So that'd be the next phase of this.
There's an advisory committee on this, right?
There is not.
No.
And that is one of the
Statutorily,
challenges.
it does not have an advisory committee.
Not yet.
Okay, so I guess, but I appreciate your support.
I'm sorry.
But I want to make sure that there's two things to address. One is there's a lot. I mean, concerns are legitimate, especially the consistency. I think are something we need to address. And so I want to make sure the commissioners let me know if I'm overstepping my bounds. But I'd like for us to have that checklist, if you don't mind, as this thing gets addressed, because I don't want this to drop off the table because it's not on the agenda. Christina, if you don't mind, I think, are you running point for this?
Sure.
Okay. To make sure that checklist goes, and also like to see as this thing evolves, right? Apparently, it's not as straightforward as some people want to think it is, and maybe we need to address that as well for future adjustments. So I know that typically I would defer a lot of this to advisory type committee questions. I'm not a mold expert. I play one on TV, but I'm not. So,
I recognize.
Thank you. So, but I know enough that this is not. This is health issues, liability issues. People get hurt financially and physically, and so we need to figure out what to do to address that. So, Christina, if you don't mind, you can follow up with me directly on that, and I'll make sure and push that out to the commissioners. If you don't mind. But Wendy.
So, but Mr. Chairman, you were saying, Brian might have been saying, so earlier before I arrived, there were comments by, and apparently still there's one left over.
Right.
Okay. So my question is, so were those comments, were they consistent with some of the public comments that were made?
Pretty much.
Absolutely.
Okay, all right.
Some of the same
Same people, same words. But good follow, and especially with your expertise.
Yeah, I mean, I said, yeah.
You're welcome, actually, Commissioner Kelly, you're welcome to work with me on this, because I would refer a lot to your expertise on this. So, Christine, go ahead and put Commissioner Collier on that loop, if you don't mind.
Okay.
And then she can tell me how little I know about it.
So, Commissioner, is there any other comments?
Oh, wait, did you like everything? Is there anything else you want?
No, I'm good. I mean, this is a very important one, so I'm happy I was here.
Good.
Thank you.
Commissioners, any other comments? All right, then I'll take a motion.
So move to adopt the, from the rule review here, fully required from every 4 years by Commissioner Collier, so effective March 1st. Thank you so much. March 1st.
Excuse me, it's February 15th. It's sorry.
Okay, I'm sorry, I apologize.
Man, I was
February
following the guy
15th.
who's on TV here.
The guy on TV.
I see
Yeah,
it. I see it right now. Thank you.
It was March 1st for everybody else when there.
Following the
Right.
guy on TV.
The rule reviews are a little
Whisper
different.
that in my mic or something.
Recommended effective date, February 15th, 2022. Thank you, Wendy.
Thank you.
Is there a second?
A second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, motion carries. Thank you, Wendy.
Thank you.
You were heard today.
Thank you, guys. Thank you very much.
Sure, absolutely.
Absolutely,
Yeah,
you were heard today.
Yep.
Item N is the next one.
Good morning, Commissioners.
Phipps?
Yes, good morning, Commissioners. Hopefully you can hear me. I'm Alex
sir.
Phipps. Okay, great. I'm Alex Phipps, and I'm here to present Agenda Item N. This is a package of rules in Chapter 130 of the Department's rules regarding the podiatry program. So the package we have for you today is amending 3 existing rules and repealing an existing transition rule that has expired. The purpose of this package is to establish the limited faculty license type and to harmonize the license provisions related to the waiver of certain requirements for licensure as a doctor of podiatric medicine. The reason why we are making these changes right now is because UT Rio Grande Valley is opening Texas's first school of podiatry this fall. And so this package is necessary to establish a limited faculty license before that school begins operations. The package you have in front of you today was approved by the Podiatric Medical Examiners Advisory Board on October 4th of 2021. The package was published in the Texas Register on October 22nd of that year. We received no comments on the package, and so what we are bringing to you today, we recommend no changes. Staff recommends adoption of the package as published in the Register with an effective date of March 1st. I'll give you a quick rundown of what's happening in each section, and I'm happy to answer any questions you have about that. In Section 130.40, we are outlining the scope of the limited faculty license type. We are also adding waiver language to subsections C, D, and E to harmonize the provisions with other sections of our chapter. In Section 130.42, we're outlining the term of the limited faculty license type. That will be 2 years, just like a normal Doctor of Podiatric Medicine license, except that the license can be terminated immediately if the faculty appointment of that license holder is terminated. And then finally, we are adding the fees in Section 130.60. It will be $125 for initial licensure and $60 for a renewal. And we're repealing Section 130.61, which was a transition rule adopted to bring all Doctor of Podiatric Medicine licenses to 2-year terms. So again, no comments on this package. Staff recommends that you adopt it as published in the Register and presented here today with an effective date of March 1st. Happy to answer any questions you may have.
Good. Any questions, Commissioner? Mr. Phipps, those fees are pretty much in line with industry. Is that accurate?
So this is lower than a normal Doctor of Podiatric Medicine license, but this license type is a very limited scope license. You must have a faculty appointment at a school here in Texas to hold this license type, and you cannot practice outside of that school. So it is significantly less valuable than a normal Doctor of Podiatric Medical license. And so with that in mind, when we did our fee analysis, this amount is significantly lower than a normal DPM license.
Always want to do that. Always want to push that as much as we can for our licensees in any regard. Keep those fees down. Okay. Any other questions?
Mr. Chairman, Brian Francis, I'm just trying to get as many words in as I can. Since this is the last meeting, but Alex kind of touched on it. this is historic. This is the first school. And Dr. Harkless, who has been just a stalwart in the podiatry industry, is leading that effort. He's a podiatrist out of the San Antonio area, and just a fantastic man, but a fantastic leader. And to have him head up this school and create it from ground up, this will not be the last you'll hear about this school. I'm pretty sure that the commission over time will be there for the first graduates that are coming out and having those moments to make sure that we're really a part of this historic piece. So I just wanted to keep that in the forefront.
Excellent. Absolutely. Alex, let us know how this goes. Exciting. I go down the valley periodically, so I'd love to see it. And if there's a graduating class, especially that first one, Mr. Francis' point, if I can't go, I can send a senior citizen, Mr. Butler, and he can give him some word of wise wisdom, words from old people. So, all right.
Absolutely.
Okay.
We do business in the valley, so if you can't make it, just let me know.
I'll let you.
So my question, Commissioner Collier, kind of walk me through, I mean, on the situations where it would be a termination of a limited faculty license. Give me some clarification with that.
Sure. So to hold the license tab, you must have a valid faculty appointment at a Texas podiatric medical school, or, you know, a school that's teaching podiatry here in the state of Texas. And that is outlined in the licensure section in section 130.40, the changes that we're adding. So we wanted to have the ability to terminate that license tab immediately if that person loses their faculty appointment. You don't want to have that person holding a valid license that may, you know, allow them to write a prescription or do some other activity if they are terminated from the institution that gave them the appointment in the first place. So that is a different qualification than a normal doctor of podiatric medicine license tab. And so just, I don't have a specific scenario in mind for you because obviously we have not had this license tab yet, but if someone does lose that license tab, the provision is in that section that allows us to terminate it.
Okay, all right, so that's a case-by-case scenario?
Yeah.
Because if
Yes.
they're terminated, say that they lose their appointment, however, they could be licensed for something else. Am I reading this correctly?
Yes, correct. And of course, a person can hold a normal DPM license. They don't have to hold this limited faculty license tab.
Okay.
Question? Anything else? Yes, sir, Dr. Weston. I'm sorry. Hang on, Dr. Weston. Hang on. Yes.
No.
Okay. Dr. Weston, go ahead. You're on mute.
Here we go. Do we put in something to where if that faculty position is withdrawn, that it's up to the school to notify us?
So the language right now says once the agency receives notice. So I believe that would be contemplating what you're looking for. But let me know if there's some tweak that you'd like to see to that.
Well, no, I mean, it says we must receive notice, but I guess my question is who sends that notice? You know, is the faculty person that either was fired or let go, or you think we're going to hear from them, or is that something the school sends?
I believe, I'm speculating here, obviously, because again, we are talking about a program that is not yet in place, and we don't yet have a school here in Texas. But I would assume that we would have a good relationship with that school. Our program staff would be in touch with them, and that they would let us know immediately if they had to terminate a faculty position. But we don't have, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to talk over you there.
No, I'm just saying maybe we need to think about putting something within the rule section that it is the responsibility for the any school in Texas that they keep us informed when they let someone go.
I would agree that would be great. I'm concerned, however, that we may not have the ability to enforce that because we do not license the School of Podiatry.
Okay.
So we don't I mean, we could absolutely work on that and try and build that relationship and have that agreement with them, but I don't know that we could put that in our own rule section because we don't have the authority to control the operations of that school.
Okay. All right. Thanks.
Mr. Chairman, Brian Francis. Dr. Weston, you know, is kind of agreeing with Alex. We don't have, you know, the school, the authority over the school, but we could go that direction of requiring the individual to notify us. Because if they are holding that, one, we'll have sway over their license. If they're holding it and they should no longer have it, we can take action against them improperly having that. So there may be an opportunity for us to say that within 30 days of it, they will tell us that they no longer properly appointed or associated with that school. So I think that may be the hook, the one that we definitely truly have control of.
Okay.
I would, there's something around that sentence, so I would kind of echo that with Dr. Weston and support him with that effort, but there's something around that I think it needs to be, supported. So is.
Absolutely. Alex, nothing like building a plane and flying at the same time. Always exciting, always exciting.
And this is Brad Bowman, Mr. Chairman, that's something we could take back to the Podiatry Advisory Board, discuss that issue, see if that's a workable change in the rules.
Let's do that. Let's go ahead and take it back to them.
Yeah, because things on the grounds of determination, I mean, that's.
Okay. Any other comments? All right, I'll take a motion.
I'll make a motion that we accept the rule changes as presented effective March 1st, 2022.
I'll second.
Glad you got the date right. Got the second. That's good.
Second.
All right, all in favor, say aye.
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 Opposed? All right, motion carried.
Thank you,
Thank you
Commissioner.
so much for your time. Very excited. Keep us posted on this.
Thank you.
All right, item O. Ms. Escobar.
Good morning
Welcome back.
again. Thank you. Good morning again, Chairman and Commissioners. Jessica Escobar, Assistant General Counsel, and I'll be presenting Administrative Code proposed amendments related to Chapter 97, Motor Fuel Metering and Quality. The proposed rules create an exemption from regulation for LPG, or liquid petroleum gas, which is propane. This exemption is necessary to avoid duplicative regulation and fees by multiple state agencies. These devices that dispense LPG as a motor fuel specifically must currently be registered by TDLR as well as another state agency. And despite following the safety requirements for multiple state and federal agencies, so they're facing this duplicative regulation. So the rules would eliminate that. Service companies and technicians also follow this duplicative licensure requirement, and they're required to be licensed with TDLR as well as that other state agency. The rules would eliminate that requirement, and the devices used to dispense LPG will only be required to register with that other agency and no longer be required to register with the department. They would also eliminate that licensure requirement. This would not eliminate any safety or registration requirements. They will still be required to be registered with that other agency, will not eliminate any type of device requirements for motor fuel. So as long as they dispense motor fuel, they're still required to be registered with the department. It's only if they dispense liquid petroleum gas that they will no longer have to register with the department. The rules were filed with the Texas Register for public comment and published on November 19th. We received 2 comments. One was unrelated to the proposal. One was in support of the proposal and the elimination of duplicative licensure and the reduction of costs for businesses. So I am asking that you adopt these rules as published with an effective date of March 1st. And if you have questions, please let me know.
Good. Yeah, any questions?
Do we, Commissioner Callaway, do we have an idea as to what we're doing for cost savings or cost reduction? Any order of magnitude? What it means for businesses?
It's a very small world of licensees in comparison to the entire regulation that we have. So we're looking at about maybe 1,500 total locations and the total number of licensees, or devices. So it's a very small window. And the fees for these guys are very low. It's only $65 per device. So the fee total is very small.
Yes, questions?
So no reduction. No.
It will be a definite reduction, but it will be a small reduction.
Yeah, it eliminates that $55 fee.
Oh,
okay,
It does
okay,
not
okay.
have to come to us.
Okay.
And the regulatory burden of dealing with our agency, the application process, and the other agency.
Yeah, I mean, and which is a cost associated with
Absolutely.
that. I mean, that's what I'm I'm getting to. I mean, as a.
It lifts that.
Explain this to me, Jessica. Maybe I'm confused because the LNG versus LPG, right?
Yes,
Okay, so we regulate LNG.
Correct. And CNG,
Right.
we could,
CNG,
right.
but not the LPG.
LPG, we don't. And so the reason that we don't regulate LPG is because there was a specific specific carve out in the tax code in the 84th legislative session that took LPG out as a motor fuel. And so that was removed. And because it was specifically removed as a motor fuel, it doesn't technically fall in our purview. And so that's the reason that it was carved out.
Okay, so do you see LPG coming back in vogue as a mainline fuel?
I couldn't tell you that at this time. One of the things that's on our horizon is definitely electric vehicles, and so that's something we've got our eyes on at this time.
Okay, so that's probably more. Okay, I mean, I'm not an expert. I don't know the LPG, LNG type scenario, but I guess the size of it, which you alluded to earlier, the LPG market's not that big of a market anyway. So really,
right. LPG, right, Chairman. Mostly LPG is used for off-road vehicles, and so you'll see it a lot in forklifts. You'll see it also in devices, I guess I should say, vehicles that are used for farm use, things like that. And so you're not going to see it in your regular on-road vehicles, but where we do have a lot of licensees, for example, like U-Haul, they fuel up their vehicles and things like that. So the average vehicle is not going to be fueled by LPG.
Okay. Okay.
Which is why we have such a small footprint.
Right. And it's mainly agricultural use anyway, so.
Right.
Okay. All right. Any other questions?
Yeah, I mean, just even though it's a small amount of folks, it's still important to those particular businesses. So that's why I was, getting to the cost of reduction. So it's important to them. So thank you for that. I can make a motion, Mr. Chairman, if you're ready.
Yeah. Any other comments? All right, go ahead, Commissioner Cuddy.
Commissioner Collier proposes to adopt the rules as presented here, effective date of March 1st, 2022.
There's a second?
Second.
All right, all in favor, say aye.
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 Opposed? All right, motion carries. Thank you, Ms. Escobar.
Thank you all. Have a good morning.
Yeah, appreciate that.
Okay.
Yep.
So we're gonna go to item P, staff reports.
Mr. Chairman, Brian Francis, Executive Director with TDLR. We just have a few things that we're going to report on. Dave Gonzalez is going to give an update on TLS. Christina Kaiser is going to brief you on a very key retirement that we've had recently. And the two things I would just like to touch on is that was Dalma's first, I believe, her first presentation to the commission for her rule package for GC. So excited to have her get that done, and y'all have to take her head off, so I appreciate that. The other thing is,
I'll get the name right.
I was commiserating back and forth with Christina Kaiser on the discussions about mold, and they do not have an advisory board, but that probably will lend itself to maybe having a summit where we can bring them in as a group and have an organized conversation and give them that touch, but also allow us further to dig a little bit deeper in those conversations. I think it's worth having that, and so we'd make it available, obviously, for the commissioners to attend, but more importantly, for that industry to really come and be heard. The summits have worked very well for us. And I'll turn over to David and Christina, and Mike is available to answer any questions that deal with hub reports or the midterm Podiatry program.
Good morning, Chairman Figueroa, Commission members. David Gonzalez, Deputy Executive Director of Licensing Services. As you know, our initial venture with Red River to develop a Texas license system failed. We've taken a step back, reassessed our needs, taken the lessons learned, and decided we need to enlist the help of third-party consultants, gardeners. So we're using the expertise of others along with the lessons that we learned and put together from our survey to move forward and pursuing a new replacement system for our legacy databases. The agency has worked, our staff has worked since November to develop a new RFP that includes more of the things, the details that we think we need to make sure that this new venture is a success. Gartner has been phenomenal in pointing out some of the things that we can do better. I would like to give kudos to Stephanie Harris, Kenny Wright, and John Fowler, especially Mr. Fowler, who's come on guns a-blazing because he's brand new as our IT leader and coming into this situation, but he's got vast experience. He's been providing great insight, and our RFP, which is scheduled to be completed by the end of this month, no later than February, we should be able to get out an RFP on our new venture to pursue a replacement system for our legacy databases. So that's the update that I have. I'm looking forward to putting it out there, and hopefully we're going to get interest from quite a few vendors on a replacement system.
You definitely will.
Thank you, Mr. Gonzalez. You and I have had extensive talks about this, so I believe you. So be good.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Any other comments, Commissioner Gonzalez?
This is one question, I guess, with that replacement system. I mean, how long? It's a while. Yeah.
We're gonna have to David Gonzalez, TDLR, we're gonna have to listen to the vendors and
Okay.
see what they tell us. Our first vendor made promises and we were not able to have those satisfied according to the deadline, so I'm very, very reluctant to promise. I wanna manage those expectations. I know that Gartner is putting in place for us timelines to get us our out, and part of that successful vendors bid will be able to show us maybe some proof of concepts so that we're not just waiting on promises and speculation on when things will be done. So those proof of concepts would be very helpful, I think, in showing us that they can get it done and maybe their experience.
Okay, right. Was there any impact to the budget going forward with this effort?
I mean, the money expended, that was a hit, but we were going to take that anyway at the end of last fiscal year. So the approach, and I don't want to give away too much, but the approach is going to look for a different way of funding it.
Okay.
That will be within our existing budget efforts. So I think we're going to be very well positioned, and Mike can definitely comment on that, but the approach is going to definitely.
Mr. Cowdy, it's Mike here, Spanish Deputy Executive Director. We've looked at.
Soon to be Executive Director.
We looked at several different avenues by which we'll be able to fund it. Of course, as you know, we received 1.8 in previous fiscal year.
Right.
We received 2 million this fiscal year. We managed to be able to derive some information out of the first go around with Red River. We hope to be able to take that and utilize it into our next step in this endeavor that we're looking at. We had a lot of lessons learned because of the way that we approached it, but Brian is right. We're stepping back now, and we're now reevaluating how we want to approach this endeavor, because I think we're finding that there are other remedies by which we can still do our licensing and get it out to our citizens and licensees. And so we're hoping through that we'll be able to find a solution that'll fit our needs, and also be able to take our 9 disparate systems and try to bring them into one. I can tell you that we still project that that's going to be years down the road, but we know that we need a path to get started on, and that's what we're looking at right now.
Sure. You okay, Christine?
Yes, something was buzzing around me.
Okay.
It was actually the gnat that I had swimming around.
All right. Any other questions? Any other questions?
Yeah, no other questions. Thank you so.
I've never cared to as a pop star, but I did today.
Sorry.
Anything else? Okay. Next up.
All right. Good morning, Mr. Chairman and Commissioners. This is Christina Kaiser. I'm one of the Deputy Executive Directors here at TDLR.
Soon to be Deputy Executive Director. Oh, wait.
I'm already that.
Mr. Francis, I can put you in timeout.
Yes, sir. I'm sorry, Mr. Chairman.
All right.
I apologize.
Go ahead.
It is my pleasure, but also a sad moment to announce that Karen Cox is retiring, leaving the agency. She's one of the senior prosecutors in the Enforcement Division. She has been with us since 2005, when we were a much smaller agency.
Wow.
And so she, along with me and several others here in the room, have kind of grown up together in this organization. And I think Karen is one of the few prosecutors currently in the agency that has worked in every major program that we have regulated over the years. Karen, a couple of years ago in 2019, was promoted to the senior prosecutor position, and that is a sort of a team lead position. We have, the prosecutors are divided according to subject matter, so they each specialize in a limited number of programs. And then above those teams, we have a couple of senior prosecutors. The other one is Trevor Thielen, who help with training, mentoring, caseload management techniques, and that sort of thing. I can remember when we interviewed Karen for that position, one of the questions we asked was, why do you want this job? And, people often, practice and answer like that, and they give you something very flashy. Karen thought for a minute, and she said, because I've been practicing administrative law for a long time and I've learned a few things and I would love to pass that on. And that just grabbed at my heart because I think as we move into leadership, teaching is a big part of what we need to be doing for the people who are coming up under us. So that's how Karen got that job that day for me. I just want to applaud Karen for her time here. Her previous experience is also something that she and I have in common. We both, at different times, served as hearing officers at the Texas Employment Commission before it was the Workforce Commission.
Wow.
So lots of steps in common there along the way. So my best wishes to Karen, and similar to Brian, I wish her the best in whatever her next chapter holds.
Well, if she's listening, Karen, thank you on behalf of the commission and thank you on behalf of what you served, and enjoy your time off. All right, anything else?
Mr. Chairman, that's all we have unless there are questions.
Any questions? Okay, what I'm gonna do is it's 8 or 10, honey, 10:08. I'm gonna take a 5-minute break to kind of reset, and then we're gonna go to the recognition of another retirement, which we'll have plenty to speak about. And Mr. Francis, I'm gonna ask you actually, if you don't mind, you can sit up here as the roasting chair. if you
Yes,
don't
sir.
mind. So it's 10:08. Let's get back here. Let's just say 10:15. All right, commissioners, mute and turn off your cameras. We'll be back here at 10:15. Thank you. Right, it's 10:19. Before we jump into special recognition, I want commissioners to draw your attention to the last page of your agenda, which is upcoming commission meetings. Upcoming commission meetings. The next one is April 5th. Block it out, do what you gotta do. So make that, we're gonna scratch the other alternative. So April 5th was the proverbial date, so April 5th, yes, so the May 1st one. And then you got May 3rd, June 7th, August 2nd, October 4th, and December 6th. Tam, you sent that to everybody, right?
Yes, sir.
Has everybody got those dates? Okay. If you have a challenge with any of those dates, let me know directly and Tam know. I'm assuming that we'll have in-person meetings here unless something else comes up. I've talked to the governor about that, the governor's office actually about that. So we're good to hear. And so anything you need, any special attention, let us know. All right. Any other comments about the dates?
No, just send those out again, please.
Sir?
Yes, sir.
Just send them out again. I had something on March 29th or something, but I didn't see that one in the date, so just send me back the other ones.
Just April 5th is the next meeting, so that'll be the next meeting, okay? All right, special recognition now. Mr. Francis.
Yes, sir.
We are going to have a plethora of opinions that are gonna fly by you. So I see you have your comfort people with you, which you should probably, you should, so, and I'm gonna start with the staff, we'll work through the commission.
Okay.
And then if the family would like to say something for the record, we'd be happy to do that. I'll close this out. And to my better judgment, I'm gonna give you the last word, which everything in my fiber says I shouldn't give you the last word, but I'm gonna give you the last word. But remember, I still have the gavel.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. And you're armed.
And I am not afraid to use it, okay? So, staff members, I don't know, Mike?
Yeah, we'll start on this end, kind of work our way around. I have a feeling by the time everybody speaks, we should take up maybe all of that 2 minutes. I think we've been fortunate to be able to be in some retirement parties for Brian already. For those that aren't aware, we've got he's been through a very emotional roller coaster in the month of January with all of the divisions having retirement parties for him. And they have been able to express their love for him. And I think it was evident in the ones that I was in that you're highly respected, duly regarded. They will miss you dearly. I think you have left a lasting imprint on here, and it's kind of like I told you, your DNA will be in this agency forever because of what you've done. And so, on my part, I hope to be able to at least fulfill a portion of what you've done in the caring and compassion that you've had for this staff, because in that regard, you have set the bar so high, it's going to be hard to jump over that thing. But I just want you to know your leadership is valued. I think if you look around, you see a lot of people that have been in this agency that have grown because of what you've done for them and the things that you created that allow the opportunity to be able to grow as a person and grow as a leader. And that's one of the things I think your DNA will be in forever. So for that, we want to thank you for your service. And now it's time to enjoy all of the work that you put into this and now be able to enjoy it with retirement. So congratulations. And it's as they say, it's not goodbye, it's see you later.
Thank you, Mr. Executive Director. I appreciate it.
Guess I'll go next. Brian, you've been a great boss, and kind of a theme that Mike was mentioning, your commitment to growing leaders. You've definitely pushed me to try to be better and on my leadership journey into, outside of my comfort zone at times, and I appreciate that. And I'll keep this brief. I'm going to miss you a lot, and if you ever need anything, I'm here. Give me a call, and I wish you all the best in your retirement. I hope you enjoy it and all the next chapter of your life.
Thank you, Brian.
David Gonzalez, Deputy Executive Director of Licensing Services. Mr. Brian Francis, you've already seen me and heard me crying in a couple of our celebratory sessions we've had with our divisions. So I am going to try to keep it short and try to keep from showing my vulnerability, even though you've empowered me to do so here. And I really appreciate that about you, because that is part of being a leader, not just when the times are good, but also when times are tough. I've been here for 26 years, So I was here before you came, and we were doing good work here at TDLR. But when you came on board, you changed the brand, you elevated our performance, you did such a wonderful job of being inclusive, and as everyone said before, developing the leaders, giving us the opportunity to give you our input, listening to us. Things that they sound like small things, just listening to your staff, but it's huge because in the big picture, this was created by you, by developing the family, the culture that we have here at TLR, by actually going through the words of our vision and mission statements, one word at a time, and making sure that they meant something to the people that participate. I'm so proud of having contributed, so proud of being a part of TDLR because of what you created here. You have so many things to brag about with the things you've accomplished over the years, but the fact that you remain humble and kind to everybody, the fact that you remember every staff member's name, or at least try to, the effort that you go through, that you see somebody in the hall and they may be my staff members and you know more about their families or their extracurricular activities than I do, it makes me want to be a better leader, better manager, better director, all those things. So thank you for setting the example and setting that bar very high. I appreciate you.
Thank you, Dave. Love you, man.
Hi, Christina Kaiser again, Deputy Executive Director. It's been my privilege to work with Brian for almost 25 years at 2 different state agencies. We were together for a few years at the Texas Real Estate Commission before he came here, and then I followed along in about 4 months after he came. You know, when I think about Brian leaving, I think about how his influence has shaped the identity of this organization. You know, one of the ways that I think he's done that is he has always been a student of his work. He's always been very deliberate about reminding us to be that way, never stop learning, never get complacent, and get to that place where you think you know it all, and there's not anything left for you to learn or advance on. And so definitely, I think we are a learning organization because of that. And I think that's one of the things that it would be to all of our benefit to hold on to that piece of our identity even after Brian's gone. Another thing that, you know, everybody has talked about is just Brian's personality and his caring nature for the employees. He said it himself yesterday in one of those retirement gatherings that we had. He said he wanted us to know that we were seen and heard and valued. That is also definitely part of our identity as an organization. The family atmosphere, and just, it feels good to me to come to work. It kind of feels fun. You know, I enjoy the people that I'm around. I enjoy who my bosses are and my peers. I hope that's something that we hold on to as well. In one of those retirement gatherings a few weeks ago, one of the lawyers said that Brian leads with love. And I thought, man, those are the perfect words for Brian. Now I can tell you, Brian can also get heated. It doesn't happen often, but it does happen. I've seen it. I've seen explosions in a couple of director meetings that were like epic.
So you get so excited when you see that side of me.
Oh, I love it. I'm like, yeah. I see Brian drop a cuss word sometimes. I love it. The other
Mama
thing,
don't know that.
No, I do. Well, she does now.
I think the other thing that Brian has definitely strengthened in the identity of the organization is just the personal accountability, personal integrity. You know, he has always conveyed that, hey, if you messed up, the sky ain't gonna fall on you. Own it and then fix it. And sometimes all you gotta do to fix it is make an apology to somebody. And I've seen him do that in a lot of situations where other leaders would not have. He would have just let somebody be mad, have their feelings hurt or whatever, but he fixed it. And so that's something that I feel I have learned from Brian that I hope I'll always be able to hold on to. So as everyone else has said, I'm gonna miss working with you. I'm gonna miss the laughter. I can hear you down the hall and know it's you because I hear you laughing. And I'm gonna miss that feeling of just fun that you bring into any room. So much love to you.
That's what, thank you, Steve.
Bruno, you good?
I'll just say real quick, Brian, thank you so much, for everything, for our professional relationship and our personal relationship. It means so much to me. And I'm just happy to be here, today with everybody here for this meeting. Wish you nothing but the best, you and Joe and your family. Nothing but time with them that you've been sacrificing for a long time. And with mom and dad in G-Town, I know those are gonna be some nice days. And I know your brother Tony's got a long list for you. He's worried you're not gonna have enough to do. So, we're talking. He'll keep you busy. I love you.
Like your cufflinks.
Good.
I'll say something. I just want to say, Brian, GC's ready for you on Thursday. We'll have a little going away for you then.
GC's like my closing out one. I cannot wait. It's gonna be just.
Yeah, your law firm needs to say goodbye. So Brad and I will save some of that. But I just want to say thank you for all the opportunities that you've given me. I know when I first came here 13 years ago, first week I was here, you said that I seemed really smart, but kind of stuffy and boring. I hope your opinion on me has changed.
Completely. You're smarter.
Yeah, you said I'm not smart, but I'm a lot of fun. That's okay. I just want to say that one of the things I admire the most about you, and I'll say it Thursday too, is that you bring your total genuine self into every situation, whether you're dancing with people, the Capitol, or us, or dealing with tough situations or anything like that. What I learned from you is you are genuinely Brian Earl Francis every time you do it. And I've learned from that, and I think that's cool.
Thank you. Pam, girls, you save it or?
So I've been friends with Dawn Robinson for many, many years, and every Sunday night she would call me and say, it's time to go back to the old sawmill. And I came here in 2004. She followed me here in about 2005, 2006. I haven't had that phone call since she came here.
Oh.
We don't view work as a chore. It's a fun place to go. We look forward to our Monday mornings here. And that is your footprints across our hearts that change our perspective of how we do our work. And I'm grateful for you and excited about the next phase of your journey. Congratulations. I love you.
You did good, Tim. You did really good.
Anybody else?
Ditto.
Ditto. Everybody good?
We're good.
You're good? You gonna save it?
Yeah.
All right, so then we're gonna go to commissioners. Dr. Weston. Dr. Weston, can you hear me?
I had to get unmuted here. No, I got to come on board back in 2018 as my first introduction with Brian. And I remember that orientation that I came into Austin, and he said, get used to drinking out of a fire hose. And unfortunately, I think he's held that burden for the last 3 years and made sure that we did get all the information. And always professional. You took care of the agency. Always put our job as taking care of the citizens of Texas first, and wanting to make sure that we treated all the licensees and any problems with excellence. And I did learn a lot from you, and I appreciate the time that I got to serve with you, Brian. Wish you the best.
Thank you, Dr. Weston. I appreciate it, man. Thank you.
Mr. Butler.
Woo.
Okay, I find my heart is racing. I don't get flustered very much. And I'm overcome with so many emotions here. One, for Joe, because you're going to spend more time with Brian, and I'm sorry about that. So my heart goes out to you. But two, So, you know, it's a mixed bag. Two is Brian is like a brother to me. You know, when I came on board, it was fun to see Brian because he was so excited. You know, he's just always excited. He could get you excited about a golf ball. You know, he's just infectious that way. And you know, getting to know him the last 8 years, I guess, it has been a pleasure for me. I've gotten to know his family. I've broken bread with his parents, his brothers, and just a wonderful, wonderful family. You can see where he gets that compassion and that willingness to want to serve. And one of and Brian, everybody's talked about the next chapter of your life, and that's because they know you're going to go off and do wonderful things. Um, you know, and it's odd to me, a man's retiring with very little gray hair. So that tells me you have many, many, many chapters left in that book. And so I guess I'm going to miss you. I've grown to love you. Um, and when I was at your parents', I read this beautiful plaque on your parents' wall about the name that your daddy gave you, and how he handed it to you clean and without disgrace, and that that's all he's really given you. And I can tell you, you've done your dad proud. And so um, I think that's probably the most touching thing that a man can say to another man. You've done your dad proud, and I'm happy to have known you. I'm going to miss you, and you take care of yourself, and God bless.
Tom, thank you so much, man. I appreciate that.
Good job, Commissioner. Wow. Nora?
Brian, let's see, we've met 2 years already, and one of those years was sepsis for me. The other year was COVID, but even in between all those meetings, I just got really fond of you, just knowing that you have brought so much to the board and to the state. But I do want to say that I'm just happy to know that we will still be seeing each other, because
Yes.
Brian and I will be are sitting on the Texas State Board of Regents, or not Regents, but the Board of Business Development. So at least, I will still see you every quarter if we get back to, you know, in-person meetings. So best of luck, and I wish you much, much love and success in your next chapter.
Thank you, board mate.
Commissioner Collier?
All righty. So, the renowned Olympian track coach, Barbara Jacket, when I was at Prairie View A&M University, used to say, you know, Collier, finish, you know, finish what you started. You know, it could be cold, raining in the morning, you know, 1 mile, 3 miles, 5 miles. And it was just a PE class for me. I did it great. I was not going to the Olympics. I wasn't on the track team. But if you made the mistake to get in their class,
you're gonna have to finish.
You gotta finish. You gotta finish. So Brian, I was here when you started as executive director.
Thank you.
And it was important for me to be here to see you finish. You know, you got to run through the tape. Right? Always. That's what champions do. You run through the tape all the way, and you've earned the gold medal. And you've left it all on the track field. Right? And so, sorry for those who don't have the sports analogy. Come see me later. so see me later. But run. You know, you left it all on the field, and that's huge. That's freaking huge. So embrace what you've accomplished. You know, and you couldn't have done it by yourself. You have your wife, family that's here, and know that whatever that you have envisioned, it's already done. It's already done. And I'm always a believer in that. And you know that it's an inside game, right? It's an inside game. So it's already done as you've envisioned it. So as you go forth each and every day, be grateful every day, right? As you go forth. It's been a pleasure.
Thank you so much.
Yeah.
Thank you. Wow.
I don't think I've ever heard Commissioner Collier so freaking.
Did I pronounce that?
You did well.
She gave it 7 syllables too.
All right, my turn.
Oh, boy.
My turn. All right.
My brother.
Oh, yeah. Joe, you're gonna have to move. I'm sorry.
Rolling.
I'll sit right next to him. We have that chair. Come here, sugar pants.
Come on, man.
Oh, no, we gotta look each other in the eye. It's like couple therapy. So, I wrote a couple of notes and I got a couple of gifts. So actually, I'm gonna do the gifts first and then I'll tell you what I think.
Okay.
So, on behalf of TDLR, this is so that your retirement may be brighter.
Okay, I like that.
Yes, it's wine glasses and a decanter. It helps things make brighter.
Stop it.
Yes, yes.
I drink wine.
Drink like you're losing, man. Drink like you're losing. Drink like you're losing. Okay, that's all my advice to you.
I'm gonna finish. Thank y'all so much. Thank y'all.
Now,
Thank you so much.
through some back channels,
Back or
covert, back channels,
Okay.
covert operations, some CIA, some black stealth stuff, man, black box. You don't need to know about this. I'm gonna read this to you. Good connections, Mr. Bruno. Thank you for this. It says, Brian, your entire service to the state of Texas is recognized today, not just by us here at TDLR, but also by the highest levels of state government, literally.
Wow.
So today I'm proud to present with you an official recognition from Governor Abbott, and each of these have their own uniqueness.
Wow.
You want to open that?
Woo. Shake.
You should be. Your taxes went up.
Oh my God. So one time we're having a meeting with Governor Abbott, and I started getting a little too comfortable with him. And towards the end, I said, you know, I should have worn my OU hat. And he says, I'm glad you thought better of it.
I agree.
And I looked at the 5 security guards. I'm like, you're right. Oh, this is amazing.
So it's a certificate from the governor recognition of your service on behalf of the state. The second, and I think it's the first time you got all 3 speaker, governor, lieutenant governor to all agree on something. This was impressive. I'm not gonna lie. Mr. Bruno, is that the case? Don't say nothing. You gotta work with it. Lieutenant governor.
What?
Yes. A certificate of gratitude from Lieutenant Governor Dan Patrick.
This is crazy. Wow.
Third,
it's like they're competing too.
Oh no,
with
no.
Fonts.
Well, you have official recognition from the governor, gratitude from the lieutenant governor, can't be, and a resolution from the Speaker of the House, Phelan.
Wow, that is so crazy. That's amazing. Thank you. Dang it, thank you.
Would you like to read that out loud?
No, you know I didn't pass the 3rd grade.
Now you got to read it out loud. Come on now.
I'm just, I'm shaking my head and.
Well earned, brother.
It took my mom like 57 years. I'm 57 now. To remind me to put lotion on my elbows, and to have this level of recognition. It means a lot, man.
We have more.
It means a lot.
Wow. You ready?
I don't know.
Resolution from the Speaker of the House, Phelan, and from the Speaker's office, a flag that was flown over the Capitol yesterday on January 24th.
Get out front. This is so amazing. Woo, dog. This is so good.
Your reputation that echoes through the halls of this legislature, through the office of the governor, is well known, well earned. You've done an exceptional job, my brother, an exceptional job of creating a human component into politics, which is rare
Wow.
a caring component, a loving component, and a relational component to politics, which is an exceptional, and I've seen it at every level. So cannot think of any way better than them, those halls to echo, and recognize you for that.
It's so good, man.
Oh, thank you. All right, now we got the small people out the way. Let me go ahead and talk. That was the B team.
Somebody's gonna be,
I know, I'm
somebody's
from-
gonna be a new chair.
New chair, be new
Yeah,
chair
somebody's
next
gonna be a new chair. He's talking smack.
All right. So, in my response to you, I had the privilege of spending an evening and dinner with Cornel West.
Oh, man,
15
I
years
love
ago.
him.
Yes, Dr. Cornel West.
Woo.
And so,
Oh.
Dr. Cornel West and I sat, you know, he and I are on the opposite ends of the political spectrum.
Sure, just a tad bit.
So,
But actually, y'all start coming back around
We
and
did,
being
we
bows
did.
around.
Who's talking, you or me?
Oh, you are.
Mr. Bowman, can we control this? Mr. Bowman?
You need a gavel?
So, as I tell the story, right, I sat down with him and I thought, you remind me a lot of his persona and how he sees things. And so he was talking to me about politics. He goes, Rick, this is my best Cornel West. Rick, you know the difference between chit chat and dialogue. I said, no, Dr. West, what is the difference between chit chat and dialogue? He goes, if you're the same person you were when you entered the conversation as when you exit the conversation, we just chit chat. But if you're different, dialogue.
Wow.
And I rarely have entered a conversation with you and entered the same person that I leave. And that is probably the most appropriate way to typify our conversations. I pray that you feel the same way.
Yeah.
So the great diplomat, my right-hand man, if I need something, whatever, if it has more than 2 syllables, I need somebody to explain the word to me, you're the guy I call to, right? I think about that all the time. Your gentle style. When I get a little rough in the meetings, hey, don't be too mean. Don't be too mean, right?
I've slid you a couple minutes.
Yeah, you have, and I always appreciate that. And the constant desire for learning, the insatiable appetite for learning and to growing and to always being a student of life, right? And so as I think about this, I thought, I can't say anything better than what Scripture says.
Preach to me, brother.
And so for me, I thought about many scripture plays, but I'm gonna read you 2 verses, and you're familiar with both of them, I hope. If you're not, I'm gonna tell your mama that you need to read the Bible more. We'll get to that later. Which is Ecclesiastes 3, right? And it says, let me get my glasses if you don't mind. For everything there's a season, and a time for every matter under heaven. A time to be born, a time to die. A time to plant, a time to pluck what has been planted. A time to kill, a time to heal. A time to break down, a time to build up. A time to weep and a time to laugh. A time to mourn and a time to dance. A time to cast away stones and a time to gather stones together. A time to embrace, a time to refrain from embracing, which has been hard, COVID. But it's been a time. A time to seek and a time to lose. A time to keep and a time to cast away. A time to tear and a time to sow. A time to keep silent and a time to speak. A time to love and a time to hate. A time for war and a time for peace. What gain has the worker from his toil? I've seen the business that God has given to the children of man to be busy with his work. I couldn't think of a better scripture. And the last one I would tell you, which I think that every one of those seasons you and I have experienced in our tenure together. And I looked at each one of them, I said, I remember that, I remember that, I remember that, I remember that. And so it just spoke to my heart. The second verse is my personal favorite verse in all of Scripture, because it talks about anxiety and worry. It also puts you in perspective, which is Matthew 6. It says, do not lay up yourselves treasures on earth where moth and rust destroy and where thieves break in and steal, but lay yourself treasures in heaven where neither moth nor rust destroys and where thieves do not break in and steal. For where your treasure is, there your heart will also be. the idea for me is the treasures of heaven are relationships. The streets are with gold. It's inconsequential. The only thing we know to be in heaven is other believers. So by definition, the reaction and the action that we have with others is our treasures. And brother, you have stored many treasures with many relationships, with intentionality, with obsession, and with purpose. I'm astounded by how consistent you have been in the tenure that I've known you. So the season that is coming up is a season that I think your better days are ahead of you, which I'm excited to see. And I pray that God blesses you and keeps you and Joe and holds your family and protects you all the days of your life. The floor is yours, Mr. Francis.
I think Tony's up.
Oh, Tony?
And Tony, I don't even know this guy that's using technology to videotape something. What is going on here?
I want to just speak for our family. When one's here, we're all here. Mike is doing this thing, mom and dad. Our brother up in heaven, he's always here. Y'all call him Brian, we call him Cooter. That's what we call him again, we call him Cooter. And I am so overwhelmed and just proud to see the little kid we slap around, beat up, become the man he's always been, and it started with our parents. So to all of y'all in here, everybody in here, this is the tree. All of y'all here are the roots. The tree cannot grow. It's to have good roots in the foundation. Y'all are always gonna be in our family's lives. I'm the bully of the family. If you mess with my brothers, you're gonna deal with me dearly and severely. I don't care who you are. Same thing I say to y'all. If they mess with y'all, they got to deal with me. Once again, thank y'all and I love y'all.
Love you, man. Thank you. All right. I'll try not to be too long. I think I trimmed it down to 45 minutes. So first of all, this intimacy is exactly what I want. This is exactly who we are. I can see other retirements where the suits are so far away from the people that they care about, and there's that distance and separation. But just to have, the chairman singing across from me, that speaks volumes to what we've created here. So first of all, I got to thank the employees of TDLR. Quite often at that table in the Capitol, they would say, members, this is the best state agency in Texas. They weren't wrong. Our agency is phenomenal, exceptional. The commitment that our employees have to public service, I will put it up against anybody, anywhere, anytime. I remember this team wanted to fight us. Sorry, Chloe, but it was Smithfield. Smithfield wanted to talk smack, and Coach Roberts, who's a God-fearing man, said, we're gonna want people who will serve Texas. Absolutely serve Texas. I mean, my best thing that I did was just get out the way. Just get out the way and let them do their thing, and how beautiful that thing is. People will conspire and try to convince you that, oh man, this is Brian Francis. Brian Francis, TDLR's Brian Francis. It's not. It's TDLR's employees. It always has been. The people who brought our core values to life every day. Not the people who came in with drudgery in their hearts, but with a joy and a purpose in their step. That's what TDLR is all about. And David, you're going to continue to see this agency thrive and be the answer to some of the biggest challenges that this state faces. This agency is going to rise up and be the answer to the problems that other agencies can't figure out, they can't navigate. To my commissioners, thank y'all so much. Wow, we go way back, and you don't wake up every morning and say, Lord, please bless me with 7 bosses. No one does that. But when it happens to you, you do say, Lord, thank you for these 7 bosses. People that have inspired me and have motivated me and have pushed me, have challenged me to see greater things that this agency can do, to recognize our reach is deeper than just a piece of paper. I mean, we're reaching into the prisons in a way that no one's done before. Those contacts, those conversations are real and they're lasting. Joe today was listening to one case, and she was listening to the seriousness and the tough decisions you have to make. That's always been inspiring for me. It's not easy being in that chair. It's tough having an agency as varied as TDLR is. I mean, 39, 40 programs, 38 if we get into some arguments with some of my nerds on the staff. This agency is not an easy one to get your mind around. But when you find your place, Tom, you know, those programs that speak to your heart, when you find that spot, Commissioner Collier, man, it makes all the difference in the world. When I started as the ED, you know, the commission was very direct with me. They wanted me to do a better job of communicating with them and keeping them involved, keeping them in the loop. And, you know, Tam and, where's Tam? Tam and Josh, and we got together and we created a commission portal, newsletter basically, every Friday at 8:30 in the morning. Every Friday, 8:30 in the morning. And y'all like, ooh, Brian, you get up at 8:30? Every Friday, 8:30 in the morning, I had a standing call with Commissioner Collier. Standing call. And a lot of people be like, oh my gosh. Man, I so look forward to that call. Rhonda would contact me at 8:05 because if you call at 8:30 with Commissioner Collier, you're late. Mike, you're late if you call at 8:30, all right? And she let me know that directly. So wherever I was on my commute, if I was next to a church, next to the NAACP building, the Mason building on my way in, I'd pull in that parking lot and I have 30 minutes of excitement, of refreshing, of stimulating conversation that honed and wove my leadership thoughts and ideas. How daunting it is to even think about coming out to Bill Koontz. That guy there, man. And everybody was like, you know, Brian, Bill's not there. You got to be yourself. I wasn't going to divorce myself from Bill. I was going to take his lessons and build on them, or try to build on them. Having commission meetings before COVID was something else. Their production. Having them now during COVID, it is a major production. There's so many moving parts, and all the employees are engaged at some level. But these meetings, the way that we do them with the level of expertise, and today you saw it, with people popping into the meetings, and they're bringing them in. The biggest complaint, you know, that my fairy godmother had over there was, I can't hear you. I can't hear you. Speak up. That's a physical element on your part. But I've got to tip my hat to 3 people. Brad, thank you so much. Those commission meetings are a legal construct. Yet we would push you and cajole you into ways that really stretched your legal acumen, and you are innovative and you are always responsive. Mike Fickle, my Minister of Quan. Golly, Mike can get persnickety sometimes, man. But the quality of our meetings have been phenomenal. They just continue to improve. So I love you for that. And Tam, you know, going back to those 7 bosses, you know, I told you earlier on, I said, I trust you with my job. You are the one that's my gatekeeper to my bosses. Please take care of them. And y'all were never overbearing. and y'all were never needy at all. None of you were. All of you were.
Who are you talking to?
So, that group, I love them. My Excel team, which is the Executive Communication and Execution and Leadership Team. Excel. It is my Knights the Round Table, and they'll tell you I did research on the Round Table. And Bedivere was the one knight who finished the returning the sword back. Bedivere was the one. And so I was trying to figure out, what does that look like in my world? Who is going to be my Bedivere to finish the vision and those sort of things? And it turned out I had a table full of Bediveres, people that were there. It wasn't the Lancelots and Gawain that were out there for fame and known for their fighting skills. I needed finishers. And I had a whole room full of our executive leadership team, which included our executive assistants who were players in decision-making and bouncing ideas off. We had a very diverse table of ideas, of positions, of philosophy, of temperament, of backgrounds. And it just allowed for so many diverse choices for me. It literally made my job so easy. It made it so easy that I feel like I'm cheating. To my family, T-Bird, you're representing them right now. I am who I am because of them. There's no question about it. Mom and Dad got to sit in on a couple of meetings last week. And I was happy they were able to see the results of their love through me to the folks that I work with, my coworkers. My baby here, so you won't have to hear me say on Sunday and Monday night before commission meetings, I'm gonna study a little bit. And I'm up till 2:30 in the morning or 3 in the morning. Mike, I'll tell you the system. Don't do it. There was a lot of time, and as much as I tried not to bring work home, she got to hear all the highs and the lows, the things I was afraid of. Losing George Ferry, she was there for that. Tom Spradlin, Rashish, Sadia, Halbert, these are folks that were in our family that we lost. Man, when you're at the top of that heap, those losses hit you hard, if you care. If you care, because your TDLR family's hurting. BB just recently, you lose somebody that your family is hurting. And to have somebody I could share those moments with means so much. She's been a trooper on these virtual meetings, man. Popping in and telling stories and talking.
I got caught today because I couldn't turn my video camera off. I was boo-hoo crying.
What a privilege it is to be the executive director of TDLR. Mike, you're gonna feel it. You're gonna walk with a little bit more bounce in your step. You got that little dead right leg. I got a dead left leg. So they were like, are they doing the same walk? Together we not walk normal. But what a privilege. It's an honor. It means so much. It'll be a title that's right up there with husband and son and father. It means that much, and not in an arrogant way, but just in a way that instills pride in you. This agency is special. So Mr. Cernusek came and spoke at the meeting today. We had some wrestling matches, but it meant a lot for him to say that I was always open. There's so many stakeholders, Mark Bain and Jerry Valdez, and dealing with our board members. Those relationships are key. The chairman touched on that. Mike, I'll leave you with a few things to think about. I may have gave the impression that I knew a lot, but I was always excited to recognize I was probably the dumbest person in most of the rooms that we sat. Embrace that. Embrace that. Embrace the fact that these folks that you are surrounding yourself with are experts, deep-rooted experts in what they do. Man, Christina's been leading the charge on us asking the right questions. You know, all you gotta do is there's lots of questions out there. And the answers they're gonna come back with are amazing. If you look at my wall at EOT, it still has the plaque that my uncle gave me for high school graduation when I just wanted $25, but it's still been in every office and it's sick not to know the answers, just to understand the questions. I'm like, what is this stupid mess? And I threw it, you know, somewhere in the closet. And as I got into leadership, I'm like, that's exactly what it's about. You don't have all the answers. Ask the right questions, and man, you're gonna be so well served. Pushing people like Brad outside of their circle, and then standing back and watching them dazzle you. I mean, just absolutely dazzle you with his growth, his intellect. You've got it. You've got inheritance of excellence and smarts. I will always be here for the whole agency. Mike, any questions you have, because I clean out the drawers, there's probably some stupid stuff you can run across and say, Brian, what is this? And I'm like, oh, I don't know. I haven't looked at that in 6 months. Sorry. But I'll always be here for the agency. As chairman, this is a privilege of my lifetime. And I will never, ever take it for granted. Bruno, thank you for those reaching out to the governor's office and lieutenant governor. Wow. It's good stuff. I'm gonna sit down and just kind of sit down.
Great to have you, including the meeting. Could not have asked any better of an ending than that. So I cannot ask any better of an ending than just to know that we're always here for you as well.
Thank you. Thank you.
Without objections, I'll close the meeting.